Today's video is brought to you by Audible. Get your free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/MagzTV or click the link in the video description down below. G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder with Mags, and today we're going to be taking a look at the newest premium aircraft in the Russian line, Stalin's own personal fishing punt. This is the Beriev Be-6, NATO reporting name Maj. At rank 4 battle rating 5.3, the Be-6 is the highest BR flying boat bomber in the game. Defensively, it's armed with two dual 23mm turrets fitted with NR-23 cannons, one directly in the tail much like the IL-28, the other sitting in the dorsal section of the aircraft, with a single additional NR-23mm cannon mounted in the nose above the bombardier's position. In terms of payload, the Maj can carry 8 Fab 250kg bombs, 8 Fab 500kg bombs, or 2 Fab 1500kg bombs, all carried under the wings on external racks, along with the additional two 45-36 man aerial drop torpedoes. The largest payload of these is the 500s with a total weight of 4 metric tons. This payload is the most useful that I've found, as it allows for both naval and land bombing while giving you enough explosive potential to take out 2 bases in one run. The Be-6's listed stats are 418 km per hour at 7,000 feet, which I can assure you does not happen, although over 400 is quite easily achievable in a shallow dive. A maximum altitude of 20,000 feet with a climb rate of 1,777 feet per minute, and a turn time that is honestly so slow as to not really matter. It's a float plane bomber, you're not going to be outmaneuvering fighters in it. It is also an aircraft that is the master of weight reduction, hitting any speed above 445 km per hour will result in the chance of the pontoon simply ripping themselves off the aircraft. Does this improve the aircraft's maximum airspeed or handling characteristics? Absolutely not in the slightest. What it does do is make the aircraft entirely unsafe to land on water. It will result in the destruction of the aircraft if you try, and makes the aircraft extremely dangerous to land on a runway, as the aircraft will always tip to one side. At the very least, this is going to result in a wing being destroyed but the aircraft still being repaired, although I have had situations where the aircraft has tipped over and received critical damage, preventing itself from being repaired, taking you out of the battle. On the upside, it does look really cool. So, I already know the first question you're going to ask. What the hell is a flying boat bomber with a listed top speed of only 418 km per hour and a maximum payload of only 4 tons doing at rank 4 battle rating 5.3? Well, in terms of performance, I agree, it makes little sense, but we'll come back to that later. In terms of age, however, it makes more sense than you may think. The Be-6 at first seems to be in a strange place as a rank 4 aircraft, up until you realise that this plane didn't enter production until 1949, and entered service in the same year. It's not a World War II aircraft. The Be-6 production continued until 1957, but it was not retired from service officially until late 1967, 10 years later. Now I say officially because unofficially it was reportedly still being used by the Soviet Navy until 1969. To put this into perspective, the Be-6 is pretty much the same age as the IL-28 jet bomber. But of course, while that piece of history is interesting, the age does not a good plane make. So, is the Be-6 any good? Well, I can tell you it's not horrible, but it's not fantastic. If you're looking for an effective bomber, this one really isn't it. As you can imagine, with its slow top speed, its limited payload capability, it can get in and get a first strike done, but once somebody realises you're there, well, at a maximum up tier, this plane will find itself facing Mark 22 Spitfires and Bearcats. On a maximum down tier, you're still going to be looking at aircraft like the P-47N, the P-51D, and from the German side, aircraft like the Focke-Wulf 190A5, and at the absolute minimum, the 109G2. Now, these are incredibly powerful fighters, so of course you would expect this aircraft to be able to defend itself. And it can, but only up until a point. If you get someone who will fly up behind you and sit in your guns, of course you're going to get a kill. That's pretty much standard for every single bomber that has a gunner sticking out of the back end. But this aircraft has some extremely large blind spots. The first and most obvious one is from beneath the aircraft. As the BE-6 is a flying boat, the need to seal the hull against water prevents the mounting of any defensive weapons below the aircraft. And while the dorsal turret can depress by about 30 degrees to the left and right, and the forward and rear gun positions can actually shoot down at around 45 to 55 degrees on the front and rear, this still leaves a rather large defensive hull directly below the aircraft. This isn't the only defensive hull, however. While the dorsal turret does have good coverage overall for everything above the horizontal plane of the aircraft, and the forward and rear guns do support that quite nicely, due to the gull-wing design of the aircraft, plus the engines themselves being mounted high in the wing, there is a blind spot 45 degrees to the left and right of the centre of the aircraft towards the wings over the engine nacelles. And the forward gun doesn't have a wide enough firing arc to be able to cover it. Now, to be clear, the dorsal turret can cover above the horizontal plane of the aircraft by firing over the top of the wing, but the wing itself blocks the path. So from below and at 45 degrees to the front, left and right of the aircraft, the plane is completely vulnerable with absolutely no defences. Now, just to go through this again, because I know this will pop up in the comment section, I am not saying the aircraft itself is defenceless. The 23mm cannons are extremely dangerous, just that there are some extremely exploitable and extremely large blind spots in the firing arcs of those 23mm cannons that a good pilot that knows the firing arcs of this aircraft will be able to exploit. So I've been talking a lot about weaknesses here and limitations, but what about strengths? What strengths does the aircraft have? Well, in all honesty, not all that many. As a bomber itself, as I was sort of getting at the start of this video, it's actually kind of mediocre. Its advantages don't actually lie in its capabilities, but in what it is, a premium aircraft. And I do not know for the life of me why a Corsair would ever slot in on the tail of anything Russian at this battle rating. Why would you do that? Anyways, as I was saying, this is a premium aircraft. So first things first, it is efficient at grinding rank 3, rank 4 and rank 5 vehicles because it is a rank 4 premium. The second thing to keep in mind is it only has a 2,650 silver line repair bill. So if you get shot down having done nothing in the entire match and not laid a hit on anybody, it's still only going to, at maximum, and it could potentially cost you less, but at maximum, cost you 2,650 silver lions. If you so much as hit anyone with a single shell, whether or not you kill them or not in this match, you will earn more credits than that in this aircraft. So it is almost impossible to fly this aircraft at a loss. And last but not least, there is the earning capacity versus the effort that you put in. While I would rather recommend aircraft that are effective within the battle, it's hard to not call this an effective premium when you can go through, press the spacebar twice over a base, fly to the next base, press the spacebar a couple of times again, and then die, and providing you have a premium account, even on a loss you're going to exceed 10,000 RP. On a win, that will get you near 20. And that's assuming that is about all you do in the entirety of the match. If you add a couple of air kills in there by people who voluntarily sacrifice themselves to your future unlocks, as well as blowing up a few tanks, or hell, even taking out the third base, exceeding 20,000 RP and over 30,000 credits in a single match in under 10 minutes is not exactly difficult in this plane. In my opinion, this is easily one of the lowest effort grinding aircraft available in War Thunder at this point. The sheer volume of RP that it's capable of generating and the speed that it's capable of generating it at, well, I'm not going to lie, part of me wishes this plane was available back when I was actually grinding through the Russian jets at rank 5, because this thing would have really sped up the process. And I guess the last thing to bring up here is it fun to fly? Well, actually, yeah, kinda. I've got a soft spot for flying boats to begin with, so I might be a little bit biased, but to me, I enjoy flying this plane in much the same way that I enjoy flying the TB3. It's an aircraft that is, well, it's by no means the most effective or most powerful aircraft at what it does, but it's still fun nonetheless. Anyways, ladies and gents, hope you enjoyed the video and thank you very much for watching. As always, if you would like to support the channel, the links to my sponsor Audible and my Patreon are in the video description down below. And I'd also like to remind everybody that I have recently started streaming on Twitch. The new NBN install is done and I now have the ability to stream. There is still a few hiccups in the system, but we are getting it working. So be sure to check out my Twitch channel, which will be at the links at the top of the MagzTV main page, as well as also in the video description down below. Anyways, until next time, ladies and gents, click that like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, fly smart, fly safe, and I will catch you in the skies.